As we've been reporting, President Trump signed a first-of-its-kind law today aimed at regulating digital currencies. Now, the bipartisan legislation, it's known as the Genius Act, establishes consumer protections for something called stablecoins. Now, the cryptocurrency is considered by some to be a more secure investment because its value is tied to an asset like the U.S. dollar. For more, let's bring in Akin Oyedele. He's the deputy editor of newsletters at Business Insider. Thanks so much for joining us here on a Friday evening to discuss, I think, something that a lot of people find confusing to start off. So I mentioned stablecoin, and this is a part of what the Genius Act focuses on. Can you first quickly define what a stablecoin is?
Absolutely. So it's kind of hidden in the name. It's a stable coin, a cryptocurrency, and the stable part I think is the part that I can demystify. So it's considered stable because it's pegged to another currency or another cryptocurrency. For example, there's a stable coin called USDC, which is pegged to the dollar. What that means is that one USDC always equals $1, and you can always exchange, or at least you should always be able to exchange one USDC for $1. So that means that its value is not fluctuating wildly like something like Bitcoin, which is not a stable coin. So the stability there is just describing the fact that one stable coin always equals one of something else, and they're always supposed to be interchangeable one for one.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who have been hesitant to invest in the cryptocurrency space, it's been just because of that, right? Bitcoin has these huge swings, some of those other cryptocurrencies, and this is a more palatable cryptocurrency for them to invest in. So how does the bill regulate stablecoins? And what do you think the significance of this more broadly is for the crypto industry?
Right. So what President Trump signed today essentially says that a firm that owns stable coins must have dollar reserves, or stable coins pegged to the dollar must have dollar reserves equivalent to how much of those stable coins it has. What that means is that if somebody comes and says, "Hey, I want 50 of your stable coin," they need to be able to back that up with $50. And so it basically codifies what has been conceptually the rule for stablecoins, and makes sure that there is a law that actually says that if you're going to offer stablecoins, you have enough of the US dollar to back up those stable coins. And it's significant because the crypto industry has for a long time asked for more regulation. Because, I mean, it's kind of self serving in the sense that the more regulated the industry is, the more likely big institutional players with lots of money are going to participate, because they're not going to go into a wild west like you described earlier. So with regulation, you're able to bring in big institutional players, and even just regular everyday Americans who are careful or skeptical will now be more uh, willing to play in the market and to own cryptocurrencies and stablecoins. So it really potentially opens up the market to new players who would have sat on the sidelines because there wasn't enough regulation in the past.
And before I let you go, I just want to ask you quickly about all this back and forth between President Trump and Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. He made comments to Republican lawmakers, walking back, potentially firing him. Then today said he's too late in cutting interest rates. You know, the plot thickens. Why does he want to fire Chair Powell? And is that possible?
So Trump wants to fire Powell because he believes that Powell has not cut interest rates
Okay.
quickly enough. And just very simply, cutting rates is like adding fuel to the economy's fire. And so Trump believes that if rates were lower, the economy would be doing better. Now, can he fire Powell? In theory, yes, but there will likely be huge legal challenges because, according to a recent ruling, the Supreme Court considers the Fed an institution that is uniquely positioned in that the president may not really be able to remove its officials in the same way that it can other agencies that are not as independent. So Trump would also need to establish a cause, for firing Powell. And even if he finds cause, there's likely going to be legal challenges to whatever that is. And again, the Supreme Court has signaled that it could side with Powell. So it is possible, but at this point, at least the White House is aware that there will be significant legal challenges, and the Supreme Court has signaled where it could lean if it comes to that.
And we've got a new interest rate decision coming up in about a week and a half. I'm sure there will be more to come on this. Akin Oyedele, thank you so much for joining us.